and thank you for joining us for another edition of Artfully Orange. I'm Vicki Landon, the administrator for Orange County's Office of Arts and Cultural Affairs, and I am joined today by Jokeeta Johnson of Stained Glass by Jokeeta. Thanks so much for being here with us today.
Thanks so much for having me.
So we have had a ton of graphic artists, visual artists, painters, sculptors, but it is not often that we get to talk with a stained glass artist. So I'm really curious to know how you even discovered stained glass as an art form and that you had interest in it.
So I have always admired stained glass, always just in the churches, cathedrals, seeing it growing up. Being in the Washington, D.C. metropolitan area growing up, you see all this beautiful stained glass. So when I was just surviving and thriving and coming out of my cancer treatments and just recovering from being paralyzed, we took a trip to Venice, and that led to a trip to the island of Murano. And I so wanted to blow glass, but I didn't have the upper body strength. So when I returned back to Florida, I visited a studio in Orlando, and they did both stained glass and fused glass. And so I spoke to the gentleman about what my desires were, and of course, I wanted to be successful. So he suggested stained glass. And I'm like, oh, yes, I'd like to do that. So I took a couple of courses from him, and here we are.
I love that. And I know you've been doing this work how many years now?
It's been about 8 years now.
Okay, in 8 years. And I have seen pieces from your collection that you sort of came up with creatively on your own. I've seen a lot of pieces in your collection that you were commissioned by, either for families or for churches. And I'm curious if you approach your work differently or if the process or the tempo is the same when you're doing a commission piece versus one that you've come up with on your own.
A lot of times the process, for the most part, is the same. Just the amount of history that I'll try to dig up on a piece or a subject, or maybe like research on the process of how I want to incorporate traditional and non-traditional aspects into the glass. So a lot of times, I come up with a pattern and it may change and evolve throughout the process phase. And in the end, I may change glass colors, I might change glass textures. And so it's all based on how I feel and my emotions and the music that I'm listening to and things that are happening currently with current events. And a lot of times it's about how I feel about nature. I work outside a lot of the time. So it's a very, very intricate, process, very compound, never really simplified at all.
Of course, of course. And so, I know that your creative pieces often focus on like social justice themes or Black history or religion. And is there something about stained glass that makes it a particularly good vehicle for this subject matter?
Well, a lot of the times, people will look at the outside of something in stained glass. Even if it's more opaque than transparent, it has a glow. So with the light glows from the inside out. And so a lot of the times, if you're going past institution at nighttime, you'll see how the stained glass changes the look from the day to the night. So you can actually see the glow and the true colors and the essence of the pieces, the subject matters, as well as the glass type and colors that shows up with the light. So it illuminates, just like people illuminate, when they have joy. And, sometimes when there's sadness, you still see a little flicker of light in there.
Yeah, I hear that. Now, I've seen a lot of your work, and the work of yours that I've seen really skews realistic, right? I'm thinking about that you have a piece of an elephant where you've gotten even to the folds and the wrinkles of the elephant skin, or you're doing portraits of historical figures. Have you ever played with like more abstract, out of left field work, or is there a piece that you've done that at one point was like really playful as it came together? I'd love to hear about that.
Yeah. I have a couple of pieces. One is called American Girl, and it's a young lady sitting on a brownstone on the front steps in New York. And the colors aren't true colors. They're purples and blues and reds, and just, it's so graceful. And she's just sitting there, and it's like, this is what America is all about. And then I have another piece that I did recently for a family in Montverde, and it's of an abstract woman, and it's a lot of bright yellows, and it's very hippie, and it shows that she's a mother. I have some blues in there. She's a mother of two sons. And so pretty much I got to go with the flow with that piece and create it my own way. And when I presented it to the family, both the mother and the father and the children were just so pleased with the fact that everything that went into that piece.
I love that. Well, you're a really thoughtful artist and you're very detail oriented. And this can be like labor intensive work. It can take a very long time to put one of these pieces together. Do you think these skills or personality traits are things that you've learned from your other career, or are these personality traits of yours, which is what makes your other career also successful? And then if you'll share with our viewers what that other career is.
Okay. So just to put all of that together, I'm an aviation engineer. So I'm both right and left brain. So the creativity and the technicality of things all come together. So it helps me not to overthink with the creative side. It'll take over when it comes to being technical and trying to figure out, things that I want to do as a process. So being a project planner, project management is all a part of how you do your stained glass projects as well as projects at work. So a lot of times I'll be able to technically figure out how I would do something with stained glass. And you're not just working with glass, you're working with metals, you're working with solder, you're working with chemicals. So a lot of times maybe you were taught to do things another way, and then you figure out this is a simpler way or a better way. In Florida, we have the environment to contend with. So it's like very humid here. And a lot of times moisture affects the way that your project is going to turn out. So
Absolutely the art form for a half artist, half engineer. I love this how you said you're a mix of left and right brain. And I do think this art form really lends itself well to that. So I want to talk a little bit more about this intersection of what people might consider left brainy things and right brainy things, because you have partnered a long time with Orange County government. So you've been a featured artist in the atrium in our
yes.
gallery space. You've vended and participated in the Black History Month lunch on the lawn. You've been an interviewee, you've been a partner. So, like, what is it like as an artist working with the government?
So it really gives you a inside look into the person and not to the position. So
Hmm.
people will come and check out my artwork at these settings, and then they reach out to me outside of that and they tell me how the piece made them feel. I've had people even at the atrium, I walk by and they said, I sat out here for 30 minutes and just looked at your artwork. I had people say, oh my gosh, I can't believe it's leaving. Where is it going? People want a piece of the artwork. So where some people may not be able to afford an original, they may want a shirt, a hoodie, a mug, or something where they can continuously look at my artwork and reflect upon it. Sometimes people will say, I'd like to purchase something because my child is having a hard time right now. Can you write something inspirational, a message? So it's not always just about the artwork, it's the artist behind the artwork and the connections that you make with people. Having that outlet and being able to be on display downtown with the county has just really, really made me feel great and wanting me to more display my artwork in public areas. Before, I kind of like kept it under wrap, and it was like word of mouth, and people just reach out to me because they did a Google search or looked on Instagram, or a family member or a church or a school, because I do work with students with STEM. And so a lot of times it's word of mouth, and it's how you feel, how people feel about your artwork, how people feel about you. So it's very personal.
Yeah, I hear that. Now, speaking of showcasing your artwork downtown for the public, you recently wrapped up a pilot program that United Arts of Central Florida conducted to turn empty commercial office space downtown that had like a window straight onto the sidewalk into artist studios. I think they called it Spark the Art. So, what was that experience like for you?
So that was an amazing experience. It was like basically you're on stage the whole time, and more not like being in a fishbowl because you can interact with the people. And
Mm,
it worked out very well. It gave me opportunities to be able to work and display my artwork at the same time, because there was a bonus gallery on the inner walls of the studio space. And so that partnership was really great with United Arts. Again, I was able to expand my just my whole circle of people being able to see my artwork with the city, with the county. I have a show coming up on Juneteenth with City Arts. So I will have a solo exhibit, City Arts, and it will launch on Juneteenth. That's June 19th.
yeah. I was just about to ask you what's next up on the burner for you. So you have this show coming up. Are you creating any
Yes.
new pieces? Do you have any pieces in progress for this or another show?
Actually, I have enough pieces for that show, and I've already turned in the pieces that I want to curate for that space because I get to curate the space on my own. So I'm really thankful to Barbara and to Tegan that reached out to me to do this, and it's complimentary. There's no cost to me, so it's just extra bonus on bonus on bonus again. Um, Another thing is I just finished wrapping up some commissions for some customers in Washington D.C. area. So I just finished those. So my time was spent working on those things.
Absolutely. Well, bonus on bonus on bonus. I love that. So, if all of the pieces that you already had or that you were able to curate are in this space and you've just wrapped up some commissions, if somebody's watching this and they want to tap you for another one, if they want to fill up your dance card, how do people find you online?
You can reach me on Instagram or Facebook at Stained Glass by Jokeeta, or just put in Jokeeta and then Stained Glass by Jokeeta or A Dream Come True will come up. You can also reach me on my website, which is www.stainedglass.jokeeta.com, stainedglassbyjokeeta.com. And so you'll be able to reach me in all those different methods. And you can reach out to people in a city, in a county, they've heard about me or they know somebody who knows me that can give you my information. And I really appreciate it.
Well, you got lots of friends in lots of places. You're highly Googleable, and I am really excited to see our people reach out to you as well. So, Jokeeta, thank you so much for spending 10 minutes of your afternoon here chatting with me. I really appreciate it.
And I appreciate you reaching out. Thank you, Vicki.
Very good. And thank you for joining us on this edition of Artfully Orange.